You are a toy!
It's always the projects that innovate on the industry or art form that struggle to get made. This was especially true for the first Toy Story movie, a project that went through development hell and various iterations before the final film came out. However, what exactly was the early development of this film like, and what ideas were abandoned over the course of its development? After some time working with Disney on an experimental 2D and 3D animated project, John Lasseter would leave to Lucasfilm after being let go. Here he'd help work on a new animated short film called The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. The interesting difference with this film was that instead of being 2D animated like you'd come to expect from animated projects during this era, Andre and Wally B would subvert the industry and instead make the whole film computer generated, including all the characters. By this point, computer generated visuals was mostly exclusive to backgrounds and objects, as the technology was still quite new, so creating a whole film using this technology was both risky and unique. Andre and Wally B was quite a simple film. It followed a character named Andre who wakes up in the forest and is immediately harassed by a steroid bee for no reason. Andre uses the oldest trick in the book and runs away. However, Wally B, who loves to harass innocent people, chases him and decides to kill Andre. Okay, so I don't know for sure if he was killed, but Wally B's stinger is definitely big enough to pierce the heart or the brain. Anyways, Andre and Wally B was very well made and proved that although the tech was new, it was possible to make an entire film using computer generation, with proof that computer generated films were indeed possible, and the technology continuing to rapidly evolve over time. The animation studio Pixar would be born, which was spun off from the computer animation division of Lucasfilm. Soon, Steve Jobs would come in and buy this company for the purpose of selling Pixar's software and hardware for the mass market. However, Pixar would continue to use their animated technologies to create more and more short films, like a film about a moving lamp, which I'm sure will never be relevant, and notably a short film called The Tin Toy. The Tin Toy uses the same animated technologies from the earlier shorts, so it maintains the same kind of visual look. However, the core difference this time is the presence of a human character. It seems Lasseter and the creative team took inspiration from Australian babies, because the kid here is the most chopped thing I've seen in my life. It looks more like an eldritch entity wearing human skin, similar to myself. However, this was one of the first times a human had ever been generated in a film quite like this, so I will give it a pass for the uncanny appearance.
When you look at it today, you sort of go, ooh, that's a weird looking baby.
The Tin Toy explores, well, a tin toy being horrifically tormented by this demon baby as it desperately tries to escape. Once again, this film, despite some scary visuals, proved that it was very much possible to make a compelling film using computer-generated technologies. So the question then became, when would a full feature film ever be made with it? Well, after The Tin Toy, Pixar would continue to work on various projects, including some commercials for TV, which I'm sure the old people must remember. During all of this, Pixar was making plans to develop a 30-minute TV special by the name of A Tin Toy Christmas. The story of this special revolves around a tin toy, an unpopular toy that was shelved years ago, however, now awakens in modern day within a large store. Now, they must go on a journey to find all their old friends, and on the way, they meet strange and new individuals. The special was worked on for quite a while, but seemingly had trouble really getting off the ground especially since by this point, Pixar was in trouble of going bankrupt completely. This was until Pixar was approached by Disney, who were impressed by the Tin Toy short and asked them to develop a full-on feature-length film. With this, the original special would be reworked countless times from the initial idea, going through various kinds of new plots. As the story continued to develop, elements of this final story really began to take shape, and this was reflected in the characters. The core foundation of Toy Story's narrative revolved around a new toy appearing in Andy's life, and how the other toys in the room reacted to them. Originally, instead of Buzz Lightyear being this new toy, it was meant to actually be the Tin Toy, the very same toy we see in the original short film and the unproduced TV special. Sure, tin toys do look cool, I guess, but there was one problem. Was a tin toy cool enough for a story to revolve around? Well, the answer is no, as the creative team felt that a tin toy may be too old-fashioned. From here, the tin toy was replaced by something a bit cooler, a new hip and trendy toy that young kids would die for. This took the form of a space toy named Lunar Larry or Tepis from Morph. They were meant to be a spaceman of some sort, one that would more reasonably create insecurity from characters like Woody. Of course, this spaceman would go through various concepts, as you can see from the progression of the art. Woody is interesting as he did go through the most development in terms of characterization and design, originally dating all the way back to the TV special. Woody was a ventriloquist dummy, a design choice present all the way to the movie's late development. As you can see, this doll went through a series of different looks, some looking very disturbing and creepy. However, eventually, it was decided that Woody should have some kind of cowboy appearance to contrast with Buzz Lightyear. It's from here where you saw many concepts giving Woody a more cowboy-like look, slowly developing until he began to look more like how he does in the final film.
I'm Tempest from Mars! What's his butt?
One cool detail is that we can actually see many of these early designs in some animation tests, and here we can see just how strange they appear compared to their final looks, especially this scene where Woody and Buzz have radically different sizes.
It's kind of rough to watch these days, but hey, for history's sake, I think it's important to see.
As the characters were being developed, the story of Toy Story was quickly taking shape, but not in the direction the creative team hoped for. You see, by this point, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who helped overlook the film's production, would tell the creative team that Toy Story should aim for a more edgy and dark tone, something that would appeal to kids and adults alike. This was typical of Katzenberg, as seen with his works at DreamWorks. Jesus Christ. Anyways, with this mandate, Toy Story began taking on a very particular kind of tone.
I know you'd do the same for me.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Whoa!
In this version, Woody was more of an antagonistic figure. He was very self-serving, mean-spirited, and manipulative. In this test footage, Woody purposely slams Buzz into the back of Andy's nightstand so that Andy cannot find him.
You know, Andy loves toys that he can find.
And in an alternative scene, Woody actually hurls Buzz out of the window to get rid of him. When the other toys confront Woody, he attempts to gaslight and justify his actions, even hurling abusive words at some of the other toys.
I was right. Who said your job was to think, Spring Wiener?
Woody here is so mean that even Tom Hanks was unhappy with the direction the team was taking the character. Eventually, the other toys had enough and would hurl Woody out of the window. This version of Toy Story is presumably the one that was shown to Disney executives, causing them to freak out over what they saw. They could not believe this was the movie Pixar was making, and it's here where they threatened to shut down the whole movie, and thus Pixar as a studio would have to shut down. However, luckily, John Lasseter and the team would manage to salvage the film within 2 weeks, saving the whole company from being shut down for good. We sometimes do see elements of this darker Toy Story within deleted scenes, such as this one where the toys are tortured by Sid, and in this strange, creepy sequence where Andy, disappointed by Woody not having a glow-in-the-dark feature, throws Woody away in the trash, leading Woody to be consumed by cockroaches. I know it sounds weird, but Toy Story is the type of narrative that should not have worked. It feels like everything was working against the film's production. However, regardless of the hurdles, the film pushed through and became the movie to really kickstart this multi-billion-dollar franchise.